Well, very good evening to everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I want to just real quick make some introductions. On the screen, you'll see the fabulous founder and owner, Angie Wallace, and then Tracy Ann Lynch and Debbie Kellogg, and I'm Angela Wallace Pearson, and this is Eric Pearson. I almost forgot that my wall singer. And then we do have a few great faces that are behind the scenes not able to join us on the call tonight. But we have a lot of really great relationships, mostly due to the fact that we are part of the Virtuoso Consortium. And luckily for us, so is the amazing company of Tauck. And we have probably the best sales rep that their company offers. She's with us this evening, and she really does bring a lot of excitement to the world of travel. So I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. Certainly a pleasure for me to be here tonight, and thank you so much for your time. I am excited to be here and to see all of my friends at Wallace Pearson Travel. They are just the best. They are so knowledgeable, so educated on travel, and just the nicest people you could ever meet. So I think you probably all have relationships with them, and if you don't, you should. Not only that, but they belong to Virtuoso, so they have extra amenities that they can offer you when they book trips. And to belong to Virtuoso, it requires another level of education that a lot of travel professionals don't actually get. So they put a lot of time and effort into that. And even though right now we're not traveling, people like myself, when I come to Amelia Island, I'm always sitting down with them, and they take out their notebooks and they take notes. But we do Zoom calls and we update, and that way they're on top of things. They know what's up and coming. I know some of them did a webinar with Tauck today. So there's all kinds of new things that they need to know, and they're always up to date. So yeah, love to work with you guys. And this is kind of a tease because I can't touch you, but I'm excited to see you. So thank you for inviting me. So I'm going to talk tonight about what's new at Tauck going forward. I think all of us have had, a year that's like no other, and we're pretty much dreaming of where we might like to go next. I'm going to talk a little bit more on North America and then touch on how Tauck travels predominantly instead of going into specific itineraries. So going forward, we always feel that travel should be something exciting, something so great that you're looking forward to. It should never give you like consternation or feel like you're not going to be safe. And so we put together some new protocols for your health and safety when you are traveling with us. And besides enhanced sanitation on the motor coach, the hotels that we stay in, every aspect of the tour, we've got all kinds of new things that we'll be implementing, like no buffets, plated breakfasts, or certain seats on the motor coach everybody will be socially distanced. But the one specific thing that I wanted to mention tonight was what we have that's called the Travel Well Pledge. And if you're booked on a Tauck trip for next year, or you're thinking about one, you'll get information about this. And what it is, it's just basically the guidelines of what we'll be doing on each itinerary, but also it will be how we're going to conduct that trip in this new now. I don't want to say new normal because it's never really going to be normal. It's the new now, and hopefully we'll grow out of this as vaccines and more therapeutics and all kinds of things come into play. So the Travel Well Pledge basically says that I'm joining a community of fellow travelers, and when I'm in a country that has, or a place that has a mask mandate, I'll wear the mask. If it says that I need to social distance, I'll social distance. If they have limited seating because of social distancing, I'll comply basically. And so it's something that you'll be aware of before you go. And then when you arrive, you'll sign a waiver. And everybody that interacts with that specific itinerary will also sign the same waiver. The motor coach driver, the people in the hotels, the people in the restaurants, we're all on the same page and doing the same thing. So you can feel that everybody is part of that community. We're all in our little Tauck bubble. When we travel, we feel that travel should not only be inspirational, but it has the opportunity to change lives and be transformative. And we're always looking for the best way to show you a destination. So we have tour directors that are trained, they're knowledgeable, they're truly going to teach you about where you are. They're not going to sell you anything. They do 2 training tours before they take out their first group, and then they teach you really about the destination. And I was, as Angela might have mentioned, I was a tour director when I started with Tauck. That was a long time ago, Angela. I've been around for a long time. But it was a learning experience where you learned every little facet of the trip, not once but twice, so it would be cemented in. And not only that, Tauck would assign me the same destination for a good portion of the season. So I like to mention the Week in France program that I used to run that started in Nice and finished in Paris. As soon as I'd be done in Paris, I'd fly back to Nice. My new group would be there, and I'd do it again, and I'd do it again, and I'd do it again. So I knew the people in the restaurants, and they knew, you know, I could ask them if I had any dietary concerns, or I would know what was on the menus, and I would know how much walking there was, and I would know where every bathroom was from the beginning of the trip to the end of the trip. All those little things that would fall into place. But not only that, I knew about the culture and the history, and I can compare this to, I have a very good friend who works for another company, and she just did a national park trip. She's never been to those parks before, never. She normally does Ireland, Italy, and Hawaii, and she just did a national park trip for the first time in her life. So she wasn't able to give the guests the same kind of information, the same kind of, yeah, there's an ATM around the corner, you know, there's actually 2, but stay away from the one to the left because that one ate my guest card on the last trip. She can't give that much detailed information. It's not quite comparing apples to apples. Tauck invests a lot in the tour directors with the training that they do. For every hotel that we choose, it's always based on the location and the quality in the location. I don't know if you recognize that Eric and Angela's backdrop was actually a hotel. That's the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island in Michigan. But these hotels here, the Chateau Frontenac in Quebec City, the world's most photographed hotel. The one on the top right is one of my favorites. It's the Willard in Washington, D.C. It's where Martin Luther King Jr. wrote, "I Got a Dream," and it's where the term lobbyist was created. It's in the prime location in Washington, D.C., so it's really where you want to be. Up on the top of Machu Picchu, we stay at the Belmont Hotel, which offers you the opportunity to go to the site late in the day if you want to catch the sunset. After the train has gone down, nobody else is up there. Or maybe early in the morning, maybe you can catch a sunrise if it's not too cloudy. So you have that. It kind of changes the experience because you get to go there when nobody else is there. We like to take all the logistics out of the equation so you're free to relax and just be in the moment. So that means transfers, regardless of how you get there, you'll be picked up at the airport, taken back to the airport, usually a private car, so it's nice and easy. You're not waiting for a lot of people to come in. Your luggage will be in your room and in your next room, and in your next room, you don't have to worry about that. It's the sightseeing. It's always included in the price. You don't have to worry about spending more money when you get there. Internet access is included. It's all those little things. And it's most of the time you'll have the choice of dining whenever you'd like, sitting with other guests if you'd like to or not, and choosing whatever you'd like to off the menu. So there's lots of choices and lots of flexibility. We want you to enjoy the regional cuisine, and you'll definitely get the opportunity to do that. When we take you, like I mentioned, we're always looking for the best way. So I chose a few examples to show you. In the Canadian Rockies, we fly in float planes, small float planes, from Vancouver to Victoria Island. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful flight. And if you haven't been on a float plane, boy, it's fun to land on the water. Or if you come on our Hidden Gems of New England itinerary, we're going to take you into Ken Burns' private studios. It's not open to the public, and if he's there, he comes out and he meets you. He loves to meet our guests. If he's not there, he's going to show the latest film that he's working on, so you get a little sneak preview. It's a treat to be at Florentine Studios. We also, on our New Mexico trip, we go into Georgia O'Keeffe's museum early before it opens. So there's no waiting in line, there's no big crowds. You really get to see it in the way that you'd like to. Or if you come with us to New Orleans, we're going to take you to Preservation Hall and have a private performance of the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. In Africa, we don't crowd the safari jeeps. It's so important. It's such a phenomenal destination that everybody has a window seat, as they should. If you come with us to Australia, New Zealand on our 20-day trip, we have privately chartered planes. So you're spending way more time in the destination than all day getting to the destination. I mean, how many of us really love the airport experience these days? Not me, but in fact, I'd go there in a minute right now if I could and had somewhere to go. But, you know, going through security and all of that, it's not so much fun. With a private plane, we pull right up, you get on, you have your champagne, you get off, you go to your room, your bags are there. It's so easy. Like I said, the logistics you don't have to worry about. On Lake Powell, we charter a private boat. We have a wonderful experience and dinner on board. That's to kick off our Canyonlands tour. Or if you come with us to on our Greece island itinerary, we're going to take you for a private dinner off of the Celsus Library in Ephesus. The middle picture on the bottom reminds me of how much research and development go into every brand new itinerary that Tauck develops. There's at least 2 years of work before we take out our first group on a new itinerary. And we had a handful of trips in Italy about a decade ago, but we didn't have one that stayed on the Amalfi Coast. And so our operations department put together a sketch of this itinerary, a couple nights on the Amalfi Coast, a couple nights in Rome, go to see Capri maybe for half or 3/4 of a day. And then they went out there and they did, you know, some of the itinerary to refine it, you know, bring it down, put all the I's, dot all the I's, cross all the T's. And they realized when they stayed on the island of Capri, they stayed a couple days, they realized that it changes every single day around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's because all the people go back on the hydrofoils or go back to their cruise ships, and you can actually go for a walk to the piazza, have a Bellini, and the beautiful people come out. And you feel like it's a different experience. It's a different island. It's not crowded anymore, and you can really see it for the beautiful island that it is. So we were lucky to get space in the Quintessana Hotel, the best hotel on the island. It's often voted as one of the best hotels in all of Italy. And we will have our guests there for 2 nights. But before they decided what they were going to do with our guests, they knew they wanted to do an island tour, but how? We were offered vans. The vans were kind of mediocre. They were just vans, enclosed, you know, kind of with curtains, not so nice. And we thought, oh, we can do better than that. There has to be a way we can do better than that. So they dug a little deeper. They talked to several different concierges, and they came upon this one concierge who has a friend named Roberto. Roberto had his own convertible, but not only that, he has a lot of friends with convertibles. So we hire a fleet of convertibles to take our guests around the island of Capri. If you look over to the right, you'll see a woman sitting with a man that, if you think he looks like Winston Churchill, it's because it is, and that's his granddaughter. Her name is Celia Sands. Celia Sands is a lecturer for us on several of our trips that visit London. Also in London, we have a woman whose name is Carolyn Robb. Probably never heard her name. However, when she starts telling you stories about a family with 2 little boys, it's going to hit you probably right here in your heart, because she was a private chef to Princess Di and Prince Charles, and she's got some great, very emotional stories about the family. Or if you come with us up in the Baltic, we have a man who is a former member of the KGB. So we have lecturers wherever we can to enhance the journey, so it really does come alive. We have 4 ways to travel these days. World Discovery programs are our North America, Europe, and exotic land programs. We'll talk about small ships. We'll talk about family programs, which is bridges, and then river cruising as well. So those of you that are familiar with us probably have seen this picture before. It's of the very first Tauck tour, and it looks like it's pretty darn old. And that would make you right, because it's from 1925. That's a 24 Studebaker. We're still a family-run company, and we've been in business since 1925. And we did have a pause in operations one other time. And this is the postcard that went out to our guests in 1942. And we paused for about 5 years. And Arthur Tauck said, we want to say au revoir, but not goodbye, because the porch light was on, waiting for our guests and waiting for the right time for us to reopen again. Same exact thing today. We're a company that has no debt. We don't own river boats. We don't own small ships. We don't own a depreciating asset that we have to pay a mortgage on, like the poor river cruise companies or cruise lines. We basically have no debt. So a very stable company. I've been around for 24 years, and I remember Arthur Tauck and Robin and Peter talking about this war chest. And I never really knew what they meant, but today I'm so thankful that they had this war chest to keep the company sustained, because we intend to be here for another 95 years. And I think if you had a trip that was canceled this year, I think you'll say that we did the right thing. You could have taken a refund if you wanted to, or you could have rebooked. And if you rebooked, you got some kind of incentive to put towards a trip for the next year. So we just had a printed brochure come out, our very first one for 2021. It's on North America and Europe. And those are our land programs. I'll talk to you about a couple different itineraries. Incidentally, North America is selling extremely well right now. And if you're thinking of traveling in North America, I think that's everybody's comfort zone at the moment. Because if you think about it, you know, we found out that some people got stranded or couldn't get back home when they wanted to when the pandemic started. And in North America, conceivably, you could rent a car and drive home. So I think this is the mindset at the moment. But if there's something you'd like to do, think about it pretty soon, because some of these dates are selling out. So in North America, one of our itineraries is the Spirit of the Desert. And this is one that was, when we work with Ken Burns, we do a number of things. But one of the things that we do is he spent 10 years with his partner producing and putting together the 6-part series on the national parks called America's Best Idea. He was in the parks all different seasons, different weather, different times of the day. He took different roads, back roads. He's met all kinds of people, and he introduced us to so many cool things. This was the first itinerary that he developed with our team, and I think it might be his favorite. When you are driving, say before you reach the arches, there will be a little video that was produced by Ken Burns with him speaking about the arches itself. When we go to the arches, incidentally, we don't go with all the masses. We go early in the morning. Yes, that is an early morning, because we go for the sunrise and we see how remarkable it is on the golden, pink, mauve, beautiful arches, and it just enhances it. And then we bring a picnic breakfast out to everybody, and it just makes everything come alive. And what a great way to start a trip. People don't think about this when they go on their own, but this is what we do. We stay for 2 nights on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. This is the hotel, and this is the view that you have. And almost any time during the day, you can get a seat here, because only about 10% of the visitors that go to the Grand Canyon actually go to the north rim. So you have it basically, it feels like it's personal. You have it to yourselves, very intimate. On this trip, Ken Burns said, you know, I've seen Capitol Reef and how beautiful it is. But instead of just looking at it by land, he said, to get the best perspective, we need to fly over it. So we charter small planes and we fly over Capitol Reef National Park. Same thing with the Grand Canyon. He said, you can't imagine the perspective unless you see it by air. And that's what we do, charter small planes, go from Kanab to Las Vegas. Canada, yes, we have so many amazing trips in Canada, from Eastern Canada to the beautiful Rockies, so many different itineraries, several different Canadian Rockies itineraries. This is a very popular one with the Rocky Mountaineer with 2 nights in Gold Leaf service and at the Fairmont hotels. It's one of those trips that you'll do and you'll say, wow, it was just, it hit all of those right notes. The hotels, the quality of the hotels, going on the Rocky Mountaineer and the dome car and the food, all the choices and the beauty, just the beauty of the countryside. One of the trips that I used to guide when I was a tour director, and it's still near and dear to my heart, is the Cape Cod tour. It's a 8-day trip. It spends 2 nights in Newport, 2 nights on Martha's Vineyard, 2 nights in Chatham, and a night in Boston. And it's just quaint little seaside villages. And I love to bring this up because most companies that do this don't have the opportunity to stay on Martha's Vineyard. There aren't any big hotels. The one that we stay at, really, it's pricey. If you were to book it on your own, it's pricey, when we book it into the tour, but we've had a relationship with them for decades and we stay here and it's just fabulous. But for other companies, it would make their product probably priced out of the market. So they stay usually in Falmouth or Hyannis. Then they'll take a ferry over to the vineyard and then they'll ferry back to go and sleep. And then they'll take a long ferry to go over to Nantucket and then a long ferry back to go and sleep. What do? We go over to the vineyard, we spend 2 nights here, 2.5 days, and then when we leave here, we charter planes and we fly over to Nantucket. No time, about 15 minutes, and then when we leave Nantucket, we take a high-speed hydrofoil and go up to Chatham. So it offers all of those great opportunities, again, to spend more time in the destination than all day getting to it. And when you walk by all those former whaling captains' homes on South Water Street to get to the hotel, you might sit here and relax. They have those nice high back rocking chairs, and this is the view that you have. So you truly feel like you're on Cape Cod. And if you want to order lobster, you'll have the opportunity to order lobster and chowder. I can't tell you how many times I took my guests back to Logan Airport and they might have been holding their belly saying too much lobster. So, yep. In Europe, we have itineraries all over, from Scandinavia down to the Mediterranean countries, certainly in the UK, Ireland, England, Scotland, all over. But we like to take you so you're not crowded, so you're in your own little Tauck bubble, even before we were talking about a bubble, like going into the Vatican after hours. Again, it changes the experience. If you've been here before and you've been here during the day, it's just, it's crowded, you can't talk. When you go at night and it's closed and it's just us, your guide is right there with you, telling you all about Michelangelo and what he did and how he did it. And it adds another dimension of, wow, you just feel like it's so personal and so wonderful to be able to do that. We have after-hour evenings at the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. We have after hours at Schönbrunn Palace. We have so many different opportunities like that. The National Archives in Washington, D.C. We have lots of those opportunities. The Peterson Automotive Museum in L.A., all over. Our exotics are Asia, Africa, Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, Antarctica. I'm going to highlight just one destination, and that is Africa. Why? Because I think after all of us kind of being home, cooped up in the house, this is the most amazing destination on the planet. And if you want something to really knock your socks off, go to Africa. If you haven't been there, I am envious of you because you have no idea the miracle in store of being in Africa. And if you've been there, you're probably anxious to get back like I am. You're not going to be outside your comfort zone if you're going with us. Look at these hotels, the Four Seasons Serengeti. This is one of our guests, the infinity pool and the watering hole. He can just watch the elephants all afternoon if he wants to from the swimming pool. The Fairmont on our Kenya, Tanzania trip. Yes, it's a tented camp, so you can hear the animals at night. But do you feel like you're not in luxury here? You're at a Fairmont. You're in luxury for sure. Lion Sands, often voted as one of the best hotels in all of South Africa. And what's right outside your hotel room is a plunge pool and probably more elephants. So yeah, you're not going to be outside your comfort zone. I really think that any one of our 9 safari itineraries you'll fall in love with, not just the animals. And these are pictures that I took. They're just, so amazing, but it's the people and the beauty of the countryside. There's so many superlatives about Africa. And what people say, if you ever ask them and they've been to Africa, you ask them what their favorite trip was, it'll probably come up. It will probably come up as their favorite trip. Cape Town, such a gorgeous destination. So many superlatives about Cape Town as well. So there's so many different choices. And if you'd like more information, you can ask any one of our friends at Wallace Pearson Travel, and I can talk to you just about Africa. If it's just you, or if it's you and your companion or a couple people, I can offer you the best time to go, the best itinerary, depending on what you're looking at. We can talk to you about Africa, and really get it down to the details about what you're thinking of, because it really is just one of those magical places on this planet that once you go, you'll never stop thinking about it. We also have river cruises. We have 9 riverboats at the moment. Only 8 of them have been christened. One of them missed the christening because it was supposed to be in March. I'll show you pictures of that in a moment. But you might be wondering, well, why would you choose Tauck for a river cruise instead of, say, one of the other river cruise only companies? Because that's what they do, is just river cruising. We do everything with the same care and thoughtfulness that we do on every itinerary. We have fewer people on board, more space per person. We have 4 Tauck directors. When you land at the airport for a Tauck river cruise, you don't have to open your wallet. Every gratuity. Nice regional wines, not the cheap stuff, the good stuff. All the beverages, all your excursions, everything's included in the price. Basically, you go see our friends at Wallace Pearson, you book it, you're done. And we have a lot of exclusive excursions. We have 3 sizes of riverboat, one specifically for the Douro. We have one that's a max of 98 guests, where most of the other companies have 130 to 150 guests on board. And that's what we're looking at the diagram of right now. So that's 98 maximum guests with 4 Tauck directors. And then the long ships, we have 4 of those, which most of the companies have between 150 to 190 guests. We have no more than 130. So because we have fewer people, it allows us to have more space per person, larger suites. There are 14 300 square foot suites. These purple, they're all 225 square feet. The bottom deck, there's never a single supplement on any Tauck river cruise for a category 1. So you have that. If you travel on your own, or you have a friend that snores but you want to stay friends with, stay in a category 1. You don't have to worry about not being friends at the end of the trip. We like that. We like you to stay happy. On our longboats, we have what's called the loft cabin. This is a bottom deck cabin with this window that goes all the way up. This is a drop ceiling, so this window goes up to the 2nd level. So you have all that light coming in, and this interior balcony where you can sit outside, you press a button, the window opens, and you have the opportunity to see as much as you possibly can with lots of light coming in. We have lots of excursion choices. So most days you'll have a choice of maybe an active, a bike ride, a hike, a strenuous walk, or maybe a kayak, or a museum visit, a walking tour, a culinary demonstration. So all kinds of choices, always included. So most of the choices you'll make right before you embark, but some you can do on board as well. And I think, the competitors out there, I think their focus is basically on the hardware, on the boats themselves. I feel like we're different because we've been a tour operator for 95 years. And because our focus is always on how are we going to show you that destination in the best possible way. So that's what we like to do, breaking up in small groups, going ashore with one guide and just a handful of people. This is the way most companies go to see Monet's gardens, and this is the way that we do it on our river cruises. So we get there before it opens. I've done the other way. I want to do this way. I did it with somebody else. It wasn't with Tauck. But this way, going there before it opens, there's nobody else there. So you don't have the pictures of the crowds in the gardens. It's just us and what Monet actually got to see. I've done this too, to see the Mona Lisa. And this is really special. On certain itineraries, we have after hours in the Louvre. So we have a lot of opportunities like that. We go to private palaces like Lovkowitz Palace. We go to Chateau Bizet. We go to Schloss Johannesburg, where we have private performances. They're closed after hours. They open for us. We bring in caterers and performers. We'll have dinner at Paul Bocuse's restaurant. We'll have dinner at Fouquet's on the Champs-Élysées. Dinner at the Palace of Parliament in Bucharest. You know, so many things you can't even duplicate on your own, which is great because you have these opportunities and you feel like, wow, I was so lucky to have been able to do that. Believe me, I know, I've been spoiled. We have 6 new itineraries for next year, a new Dutch waterways, and this is round trip from Amsterdam. I don't know if you can see my shirt. I'm wearing it in for the Delft. We visit Delft on this itinerary. I think you might know about the Delft pottery. But we go to the Mauritius Museum before it opens. We have some great opportunities to do things that you wouldn't be able to do on your own. This itinerary right here is a small ship cruise itinerary with 2 nights in Malta and 2 nights in Marseille before and after, going to the islands in the Mediterranean. The vessel is a max of 180 guests. It's an Explorer class vessel en Ponant, and a land itinerary from with Jerusalem and Jordan, with more of a focus on Jordan than our Israel and Jordan. And then 3 new Douro cruises, and I'll show you what the vessel looks like in just a minute because she's brand spanking new. 2 nights in Madrid, 2 nights in Lisbon, with your tour directors with you from day 1 till the very last day, everything included, and some great highlights. After hours, evening in Quailey's Museum in Lisbon, you know, some really wonderful things, a week-long cruise on the Douro. Our cruise only, round trip from Porto on the Douro, and a family itinerary with 2 nights in Madrid and an 8-day cruise on the Douro. So this is the brand new riverboat. The Andorina holds a max of 86 guests. You can see she's just a very nicely appointed boat. We want you to be comfortable. We don't want you to have to think, oh, it's missing this or it's missing that. We thought of every little detail, and I think you'll really enjoy it if you go. But for us, the focus is always on the excursions and the service. And no single supplement, remember, category 1. I also wanted to mention small ship cruises. Now, the vessels that we use are from 40 guests to 250 guests. Many of the vessels that we'll use will be a max of 180 guests. So the Explorer class with on a company called Ponant. Most of the times we do a couple nights before and a couple nights after, just like the river cruises with, say, 2 nights in Stockholm and 2 nights in Copenhagen before and after our Baltic itinerary, where we take you to a private evening with 2 performances in Yusupov Palace. We get into the Hermitage before it opens. We have that great lecturer who used to be a member of the KGB and how he makes your head spin with the stories that he has. And then our farewell dinners in the Vasa Museum. After hours, just us, dinner inside, you know, a true connection to the destination. So we have over 20 different itineraries with, again, you land at the airport, you don't need to spend another penny. And these are the vessels that we use. We use Silver Sea and Metropolitan in the Galapagos, and then Windstar, we have a couple different itineraries with Windstar. And if you think our trips aren't active, they can be. It's up to you if you want to be active, and they definitely have that opportunity to be active or not. Every single itinerary will have an activity and a pace little chart. Activity is how much physical activity you would do during the day. Pace is how much movement there is. Say it's a land tour and we're talking about Canadian capitals. Well, we have 2 and 3 nights in the same city. So the pace isn't as active as, say, Canyonlands, where we change hotels every night because there's more things to see, more exciting things to see in the next park. You have to keep on going to the next park. Lastly, I wanted to mention our family programs, and those are called Bridges. And I've had the pleasure of traveling with Eric and Angela and the girls on one of these Bridges programs. And it's something I'll never forget. I was with my nephews, and I don't think they will either. Bridges is the name that's about bridging the 3 generations, parents, grandparents, and kids. And believe me, they connect so well on a trip like this because everything's planned. There's nothing left to chance. You know, if you've spent a lot of time at home and you haven't been able to see the kids or the grandkids because they're far away, you know, spend some meaningful time with them. And I really, truly feel that travel is the best education there is. We have over 20 itineraries from the Canadian Rockies. This is a different nephew I took on the Canadian Rockies, where he happened to find out that my mom was the coolest grandparent because she went whitewater rafting. He never expected that. And up to Alaska. We have 6 river cruise itineraries. These pups actually are being trained for Iditarod pups. This is a Mushers pups. So imagine the kids, you know, getting to hold these pups that are going to be probably famous mushers one day, famous pups. And then, you know, the camaraderie that the kids have every day, the excursions are built around them. So we did a river cruise where we started in Paris for a couple of days, and instead of doing a bus tour in Paris, we did a bike tour around Paris. Right after the bike tour, we got right off, went right up in the Eiffel Tower. We didn't have to wait in line. We had lunch, and it was a great start to a trip. There were so many cool things about this trip. But I took this picture on day 5, I think. These kids did not know each other before that. This kid did because he's my nephew, and this kid did. So they're brothers, but they didn't know each other. Day 5, look how they connected. Do you think they had a good time? You know what? I always say if they're having fun, we're having fun. Little Matt at this one, he turned 18, and I said to him, Alex, you won't want to be traveling with Aunt Jen anymore. And he said, yes, I will. So if you have the opportunity to do it, I say it's the best use of your time and resources. Those kids will never forget it, and neither will you. Oh, sorry, I did not mention our private departures. We've just introduced private departures. What is that? If you don't want to travel with a big group of people, but you do have a small group of people, we're now taking on North America and Europe. It will be introduced also on exotics and bridges, but right now, North America and Europe, if you've seen the brochure or you have an e-copy, the dates are highlighted in orange, are private departures from 10 to 24 guests. So those are almost every itinerary that we have, you'll see them. And if you have fewer people, you can always ask somebody at Wallace Pearson. They can contact our reservations department and find out. And those always come with a complimentary night, and we're going to offer you a complimentary night if you go to see our friends at Wallace Pearson and book something within the next month as a gesture of gratitude for you joining us today. So I am so grateful. We still have lots of people listening. Wow. I hope you had some wine. I always sound better when you have a drink or two, I think.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was fantastic. And we are super excited about the opportunity for the private trips. And our girls still talk about that river cruise through France where they were flying kites on the top of the riverboat and, you know, painting chocolate murals and then eating it later. But we've done 2 Tauck bridges so far, and we were meant to do a Costa Rica as part of our world trip. So we've rescheduled that for April of 2021 if anyone might want to join us on that.
Well, it's always my pleasure to work with you guys. I just can't wait till I see you in person, and your clients too. I mean, there's so many that I've come to know, and they're just great. So hopefully we get to do this in person soon.
We will very much be looking forward to that.
Me too.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Jennifer, for all that knowledge, and we can't wait to start experiencing it.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Bye, everybody.